hitting in the static. This ain't no bedtime story, son, it's prophetic. Encrypted signals from the shadows of the garden. We dig where the dirt got secrets, no parting. Microphone alchemist, scriptures with a twist. Peep the frequency, seeds in the mist. We drop bars like plagues, revelations in the cadence. Broadcasting truth while they trapped in surveillance. Wisdom with a watchman's blade. Fourth watch style while your whole system fade. Blood moons, Nephilim, echoes in the pine. Sasquatch stomping through the fault lines of time. We ain't mainstream, we ancient stream. Cipher with the prophets, decode the dream. So if you tuned in, better guard your mind. It's broadcasting seeds and we breaking the design. Yeah. Straight from the broadcast studio. Hidden in the static.
You ever step outside and the air feels different? Like the world swapped soundtracks while you were sleeping? Your coffee tastes the same, the dog still wants breakfast, traffic still forgets how turn signals work. Yet something in the atmosphere has shifted. Not a headline, not a notification, like a frequency. Like the station changed by one click, and now there's a hum behind the hum. Welcome to Broadcasting Seeds. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton. This show lives where strange footprints cross the front lawn of everyday life. We talk cryptids and cover-ups, the paranormal and the biblical, the parts of history that do not sit quietly in a textbook. If you came here for kitten videos, you took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. If you came here because your gut has been poking you with the same 3 words, pay attention now, then you're in the right room. Here is the premise tonight. People keep telling me they feel a shift. Not just political turbulence or economic heartburn, but a spiritual pressure change. The old sailors call it reading the weather. The old prophets call it watchfulness. Your grandmother probably called it a check in her spirit. You do not need a PhD to sense it. You need a little quiet, a little honesty, and maybe the wisdom to admit that the visible world is only half the story. Now, I'm not here to fearmonger. Fear is a lazy editor. I am also not here to pat you on the head and say, it's all in your mind. Dismissing the obvious is how people step in the same hole twice. Tonight, we are going to treat that gut feeling like a clue. We will crack it open and see what falls out. We will look at history for patterns, at culture for tells, and at scripture for the map that most folks keep folded in the glove box until the engine light comes out. This will not be a sermon, yet I will talk about prayer. This will not be a conspiracy buffet, yet I will ask who profits from this fog. And no, we are not summoning anything. We are simply refusing to sleepwalk. Think of this episode like a night patrol on your own neighborhood. The streetlights are flickering. There are footprints you do not recognize by the garden fence, and the wind is moving in a way that says winter is closer than the calendar thinks. If you're new here, a quick house rule. We do curiosity, not cynicism. We handle sources like knives in a kitchen with respect. We tell stories to reveal the truth, not to decorate a lie. And at the end of the night, we aim for a clear head and a steady heart. So before we roll, a favor. This show grows because you share it. If you get value tonight, hit like. leave a review, and send this to one friend who has been texting you about weird dreams. And subscribe so you don't miss what is next. It costs nothing, and it helps this little outpost keep the lights on. All right. Take a breath. Listen to the room you're sitting in. That hum under the hum, you hear it? You feel it? Good. Let's follow it. Section 1, the gut check. When the spirit shifts before the world does. You ever notice how before a storm hits, even the animals start acting weird? Birds go quiet. Dogs have a tendency to pace. The air tastes kind of like metallic, like it's charged. Humanity does the same thing, only instead of pacing the kitchen, we start scrolling our feeds, getting restless, or saying things like, something feels off. What most people chalk up as anxiety is often a very old reflex. It's called instinct. Call it spiritual sensitivity. But it's as old as we are. History is littered with moments when that collective gut feeling precedes seismic change. In the Hebrew scriptures, the prophets didn't just deliver cryptic poetry. They were watchmen, ringing alarm bells before invasions and exiles. People in Europe reported a heavy atmosphere before World War I, and again before World War II. In America, during the First and Second Great Awakenings, folks wrote in journals about sensing an approaching fire before revivals broke out. Whether or not you believe in prophecy, the pattern is clear. Before a shift in the natural world, there's often a tremor in the spiritual world. What's happening today isn't that different. Scroll the headlines, you got war drums, economic cracks, tech breakthroughs, solar storms, but beneath it all is an undercurrent you can't put in a spreadsheet. People across the spectrum, secular analysts, mystics, preachers, conspiracy theorists, are using the same words like turning point, inflection. The veil is thinning. Even the fourth turning theory, which isn't spiritual at all, describes society entering a period of crisis and realignment every 80 to 90 years. Sounds a lot like Jubilee cycles that we've been talking about. The gut check is the part of you that registers those convergences before your brain builds the chart. It's not paranoia, it's a signal. But here's the trick. A signal isn't a verdict. Feeling a shift doesn't mean you should run for a bunker or declare the end of days. It means you're being invited to pay attention and watch the patterns. I say pray. Get your spiritual house in order. Learn to separate the noise from the intel. That's what we're doing here tonight. Treating your gut feeling like evidence. We're going to sift it, hold it up to the light, and see where it lines up with history, culture, and scripture. Because if there really is a spiritual pressure change, then understanding it, not fearing it, might be the difference between sleepwalking into a storm and stepping into your calling. Section 2, the veil is thin, signs in the atmosphere. Here's where things start to get spooky. The gut check tells you something is off, but the signs in the atmosphere, that's when you start connecting dots, and suddenly the wallpaper of normal life doesn't look so normal anymore. Think about the last couple of years. You've got solar eclipses cutting dramatic X's across America. You've got record-breaking earthquakes shaking places that usually sit quiet, and strange, trumpet-like sounds echoing in the cities with no logical source. And to that, the surge in UFO disclosures, governments suddenly admitting, yeah, maybe we aren't alone, and the rise of AI, machines that mimic intelligence while we still wrestle with what intelligence even is. This isn't business as usual. This is a cocktail that screams the veil is getting thinner. Now, the ancients would have had no problem with this idea. They expected the supernatural to break through. Thunder wasn't just weather, it was a voice. Dreams weren't random firings in the brain. They were warnings, sometimes orders. Even the Bible leans into this, showing a world where angels visit shepherds and prophets see armies of fire on hillsides that the rest of us miss. Somewhere along the way, modern times convinced us we live in a sealed box. But that box has holes, and lately these holes are widening. Look around culture right now. There's a reason paranormal podcasts, ghost hunting shows, and TikTok psychics are exploding in popularity. People are looking for language to describe what they already sense. Meanwhile, fringe scientists at places like CERN are smashing particles and openly speculating about parallel dimensions. Whether or not they'll ever find one, the idea that the world is layered like an onion is no longer science fiction. It's a damn TED Talk. And here's where the conspiracy edges in. Strange timing, isn't it? The same decade where spiritual hunger is spiking is the same decade where global systems feel like they're cracking. Wars escalate, economies wobble, politics spin like a washing machine with a brick inside. That hum we talked about in the intro, it's getting louder, and you don't need to be religious to feel it. You just need a pulse and a little honesty. The danger, of course, is mistaking every shadow for a demon, or every strange light in the sky for angels on patrol or UFOs. But the other danger is pretending none of it means anything. That's how you get blindsided. Signs in the atmosphere are like road flares. You don't stop in the middle of the highway to worship them, but you'd be a fool to ignore them. So if the veil really is thinning, what do? That's where we're heading next. The prophets had a word for people who paid attention in times like this. They called them watchmen. The ones who stayed awake while everyone else hit snooze. And that's where we're going next. Section 3. Watchmen on the Wall. Section 3. Watchmen on the Wall. How to respond to the shift. All right. Let's say the gut check is real. Let's say the signs in the atmosphere aren't just coincidence or your imagination playing tricks after too much late-night caffeine. The question becomes, what do you do about it? Because knowing something is shifting is only half the job. Responding to it, that's where the rubber meets the road. Now, in the Bible, Ezekiel was called a watchman. His job wasn't glamorous. He wasn't out there winning popularity contests. He was stationed on the wall, looking out over the horizon, warning the people when danger was coming. If he saw the threat and stayed quiet, the blood was on his hands. If he spoke up and people ignored him, at least he did his duty. I mean, that's a tough gig, but it's exactly the mindset we need when we sense a spiritual shift. Being a watchman today doesn't mean wearing a tinfoil hat or screaming into a megaphone. It means cultivating discernment. It means not falling asleep spiritually when the culture is sedating everyone with entertainment and distractions. It means asking hard questions. What's influencing me? Who benefits from this chaos? Is my spirit aligned with God's truth, or am I just chasing the latest headline? Practical steps matter here. Start with prayer. Not the quick, bless my food prayer, but the kind that carves out time to listen. If your gut says something's changing, prayer is where you get clarity. Add fasting to the mix if you really want to tune out the static. That discipline sharpens your senses faster than any newsfeed ever will. Second, guard your mind. We live in an era where disinformation spreads faster than wildfire in a dry canyon. Every voice claims authority. Every expert wants your attention. As a watchman, your job isn't to consume it all, it's to filter it. Scripture calls it testing the spirits. If something doesn't line up with truth, you don't let it rent space in your head. Third, strengthen your community. Lone wolves, they burn out fast. Find people who are also sensing the shift, people who are awake. Maybe that's a church. Maybe it's a small group. Maybe it's a circle of friends who take this seriously. Whatever it looks like, isolation is where discernment gets twisted. Together is where you refine it. And finally, remember, watchmen aren't called to panic. They're called to prepare. That's a big difference. If the veil really is thinning, it's not just a threat, it's an opportunity. It means you're standing in a moment where heaven and earth are brushing closer than usual. Some will run scared, some will shrug it off, but the watchmen, they'll stand tall, lanterns lit, ready to guide others through the dark. So if your gut is telling you something's changing, don't ignore it. Don't let fear hijack it either. Step into the role you were built for, because shifts aren't random. They're signals. And the question is, are you awake enough to answer? Outro. So here we are. We started with that gut feeling, that hum under the hum, and we walked out. First, the history, how humanity has always sensed tremors before earthquakes, both physical and spiritual. Then the atmosphere, the strange signs, the cracks in the facade, the veil that feels a little thinner these days. And finally, the response, not panic, not apathy, but watchfulness, becoming the kind of people who keep their lamps lit when the night is long. So here's the thing. Nobody can outsource discernment, not to your pastor, not to your favorite YouTuber, not even to me. The world has shifted and you feel it. I feel it. The only question left is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Pretend it's business as usual, or step into your role as a watchman, awake while the rest of the world drifts deeper into sleep. This is the mission of Broadcasting Seeds: to plant ideas, to push curiosity past the comfortable, and to remind you that reality is stranger and more supernatural than we've been told. If this episode stirred something in you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it. Text it to the one friend who always talks about weird vibes. Post it in your feed, leave a review so more people can find us. That's how this community grows. Not by algorithms, not by word of mouth, watchman to watchman, seed to seed. And if you're listening right now and that hum under the hum is still there, good. Don't mute it. Lean into it. Pay attention, because shifts don't happen for no reason. I'm Bennett Tanton, and this has been Broadcasting Seeds. Stay awake, stay sharp, and remember, the veil is thin, but truth is eternal.
The fog closes in, the world feels bent, but you know deep down this isn't the end. Through the fog we keep walking, lantern in hand, eyes open. The shift is real, but we won't be broken. Shadows whisper signs in the sky, but the watchman stands refusing the light. Through the fog we keep walking, lantern in hand, eyes open. The shift is real, but we won't be broken. Through the fog we keep walking, lantern in hand, eyes open. The shift is real, but we won't be broken.